babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day and every clue. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking?
Ladies and gentlemen,
they want war. Crying babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day and every clue. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest.
First of all, I want to thank all the people that's out there putting their lives on the line, doing something regarding this treatment of American people, American people, American people, American citizens, American citizens, American citizens. This this hostility that's coming from a criminal that has found his way to the top of the power structure with help, with foreign help, with help from representatives that have capitulated on democracy, on their power in Congress, the power of the purse, that have turned against the American people. And there can be no clearer way, because if any other person did this from any other political party, put the military against the American people, drew the military, the Marines, what would you say? Would you say it was justified? Would you call it justified? I myself pretty much know that's not the case. I pretty much know that only bigots and people that hate the United States of America would justify this treatment of the American people. But of course, it's not going to stop, because apparently we don't have the peaceful means to make it stop. Right. It seems like the peaceful means are not the things that are respected under this type of government, with this type of Congress, with this type of Supreme Court. Peace gets pardons. Peace gets hurt. Violence gets pardoned in this equation. And we've seen this before. We've seen it before. We're not just talking about criminal. We're talking about the worst type. We're talking about person that doesn't pay taxes, defrauded his own state of taxes, the very home, the very place he called home as a child, defrauded that state. Went on to befriend the most prolific sex trafficker in the country and claims that he doesn't know anything about the little girls who got molested. This is the person who is the president. And this person hates himself so much that he also hates the American people. He hates what the U.S. stands for. He hates all of it, which you're basically dealing with a really sick person. Now, let's go back before we get into what's happening right in D.C., because a lot is happening in D.C. So much is happening in D.C., and we're going to cover that thoroughly. But let's not forget where this started. Let's not forget where this started. Because somebody didn't call the feds. Somebody didn't call the National Guard when this happened.
So that's what violent crime in D.C. looks like. And Donald Trump sat in the White House watching that happen for hours and did nothing. Police officers were brutally beaten as America's
wait a second. Hold on. Somebody says D.C. has 2 times the crime rate. I don't know what you're talking about, crime rate. I don't know what you mean by that. You need to be more specific, right? Because there's such a thing as violent crime, right? I mean, I don't know what kind of crime rate. I don't know what state you're talking about, but I do know for sure that this right here, violent crimes, guns, carjackings, things that are where you rip people, where you hurt people physically, Republican home states have more than DC. DC has 3.8 per 1,000, right, people. Okay, Republican home states, MAGA Mike Johnson's own state has 6.2 violent crimes. Where is the National Guard? Representative Thune, 2.7. That's pretty high. But that's less than DC, but that's not Johnson's state. Graham, higher than DC, 4.7. Rubio, 3.8. Where is the National Guard? Let's go and rip people out of their homes. I think the next president should send the National Guard and the FBI and rip these people out of their homes. Go from door to door and hunt them down, because they have higher violent crime rates than DC. Abbott, why not do the same thing at Abbott? I mean, that's Texas. Where's the National Guard in Texas? They don't even get the feds down there to help stop flooding. And you still have people out here capping for the guy whose best friend was the most prolific sex trafficker and pedophile in the country. See, this is the arrogance of these people. This is the arrogance of these people. They will get out here and lie. Let's continue.
Transfer of power was ended on that day, January 6th. Trump supporters chanted to hang Trump's own vice president, Mike Pence. Yet today, on a very peaceful day in Washington that looked nothing like that, and amid a 30-year crime low in the nation's capital, Donald Trump decided to claim.
What's up, Yolanda?
That now is the time, today is the day, that violence in D.C. needs to be addressed, saying he will be asserting federal control over the U.S. Capitol and taking control of Washington, D.C.'s police department. Protesters took to the streets of D.C. ahead of Trump's announcement, calling BS on his claims that this is anything other than an act of authoritarianism.
Trump does not care about D.C.'s safety. He cares about control. What we know from history is that authoritarians always want to control the Capitol and the people in the capital city. It's because it's the fastest way to silence dissent and to accelerate their agenda. And I want to be clear, this is not about crime. This is about what Trump is trying to do to D.C. in order to take over D.C. and silence us. This is the story of a ruler who is trying to oppress a people and who's causing real harm to real communities in the process.
We're back with Andrew Weissman. Andrew, this is, I know for a lot of people, a really scary day. I checked with a few law enforcement sources who were wary about what would happen, but suggested this could be performative, that there are 30 days. What are your thoughts? What are your concerns? And
Basically, we already know this. Donald Trump basically likes to scare and bully people. That's the best that he has. The scare and bully tactic. That's it. If once you get past that, he has nothing. He evaporates. What you're going to see here is that they're going to be there a couple of days in DC. The people are going to laugh at them. The people are going to point them out day by day. They're going to get tired, and you're going to get the same thing you get from Donald Trump. You're going to find out that they spent billions of dollars and have very little data to show for it. So in other words, all they did was spend a whole lot of money marching people around, marching their troops around the city, and actually apprehended little amounts of crime. While in other states, flooding is going to happen, crime at a higher rate happens. That's all you're going to see. And the people in D.C. are not stupid. The people in D.C. are the children of lawyers, civil rights advocates, educators, teachers, you see what I mean? Military, children of military themselves. You see, they're not stupid. They know how to play this game better than anybody, even though they're not a state. But let's continue, because we're not even close to the good part yet. Let's continue.
And what could this be leading toward?
I know there's a school of thought that this is a distraction. This is a way of changing the story in the headlines from Epstein. But even if you thought that, it still, I think, is incredibly scary. The idea of using federal law enforcement and the federal...
Here's what I'm going to say, because I'm from D.C., and I'm going to speak right now to the feds. I'm talking about the people on the ground. I'm not talking about the top, Kash Patel, because he's nobody. He's a scammer. And I'm not talking to the DOJ, the top of the DOJ, but I'm talking to the police, the feds on the ground. You take orders from a person who possibly murdered Jeffrey Epstein and possibly himself molested and raped little girls to the tens of 20s. You don't even know how many, and is keeping it all a secret. That's who you're taking orders from. So it doesn't even matter if you think you have the law on your side. You work for people that are sick. It's just that simple. No one is going to respect you. No one is going to respect you anyway. No way, shape, or form. You work for the best friend of the most prolific sex trafficker in the country. That's who gave you this order. That's who you took the order from. And doesn't even want you to know what's in the Epstein files, because he's probably in it with pictures of him, as has been reported in the news already. Little girls with Donald Trump. That's who you're taking orders from. Little topless girls. So it doesn't matter what you think you're doing. Let's continue.
Military is in ways that we have never seen in
they not like us, for real.
Republican
That's
or
bits.
Democratic should be, and I think correctly is called out in the clip that you played. You just think we've had it in Los Angeles. We have it at the southern border with the military being called in. Now you have Pam Bondi with the Secretary of Defense at a press conference talking about the sort of the imagined problem here, when the excuse for doing this is so paper thin. And so I do think that concern goes directly to the very first clip you played, which is just remember what Donald Trump was trying to do to stay in office. But this time he has control of all of the levers of power. He has control of so much, including, as Liz Cheney and Secretary of Defense Esper warned, of the military. And so even if this is the timing of this is a distraction.
I like how Trump, hey, Raphael, I like how Trump got all the MAGA people to not want to know what's in the Epstein files. I like that. Everybody give Trump a big round of applause for getting the MAGA people to shut up about the Epstein files. You know, those files he promised to release, Kash Patel, Bondi. Yeah. And he did it just by telling them, shut the hell up, you're stupid. And they were like, okay, boss, we're stupid.
It is incredibly worrying in terms of what it could portend for somebody who I think is desperate to cling to power in ways that we don't have to guess at. We know from history that that's true.
Yo, I mean, pedophiles and rapists shouldn't be an issue of the lefties or the righties. It should be an issue of people that want to protect their children. You know, whatever happened to sending the feds out to do that, protect the children? I can see a lot of the MAGA people don't use the feds for that.
And live through, and one that over the past year we have continued to learn more and more about. Amna Nawaz takes a look back with this timeline of the historic and deadly events of that day.
USA! USA!
1 year ago today, Trump supporters from across the country gathered in the nation's capital to protest Congress's certification of the 2020 presidential election results.
To use a favorite term that all of you people really came up with, we will stop the steal.
At a rally near the White House, President Trump spoke to a crowd estimated in the thousands, everyone from ordinary Americans to conspiracy theorists to members of right-wing extremist groups.
We will never give up. We will never concede.
Trump repeated the lie that the election was stolen, urging his supporters to march to the Capitol and fight.
You'll never take back our country with weakness. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Around 1 p.m., as Trump is wrapping up his remarks in the park, the day turned violent.
Now, this is what MAGA people call good people. So if you lefties act like this, that's a good thing, according to MAGA folks.
A group of his supporters on the western side of the Capitol confront the handful of police guarding the barriers and force their way through. Moments after
these people got a pardon, that means they're good people in the MAGA folks' eyes, in their hearts, and according to their ethics, these are good people. So if you behave like them, just mock their behavior verbatim, you will be seen as a good person too, especially when attacking police officers.
After Mr. Trump finished his more than hour-long,
especially when threatening the lives of the vice president. Today, the vice president would be who? J.D. Vance? Especially threatening the lives of who? Other representatives in Congress? Who would that be this time? Would that be MAGA Mike Johnson? Would it be okay to do that? These are the people that got pardoned after doing that.
Speech, thousands of protesters streamed from that rally site and walked this route, down Pennsylvania Avenue, directly to the U.S. Capitol grounds. Several people told us that day they expected Vice President Pence to overturn the 2020 election results.
What needs to happen?
So using violence is okay to MAGA people to overturn the election. Using violence, this is what they used to try to overturn it.
Pence needs to not open the 7-state election.
And once you do it, you can't complain about anyone else from that point on doing it either.
Electors' envelopes for the states that I mentioned. Set them aside and send it all back to those state legislatures.
Well, we got to stop this steal from happening because if we don't, nobody's ever going to vote again. There's not going to be any integrity in our voting systems.
As the crowd grows, clashes between Trump supporters and Capitol police officers, clearly outnumbered, intensified.
We're not going to take it anymore. This is our country.
Now, these people don't have to listen to police. They've been given carte blanche because in their minds, they're real Americans. So real Americans don't listen to the police. So if you're out there listening and you're a real American, do what these people did because the majority of Congress agrees And so does the president of the United States. So does Kash Patel, the leader of the FBI. So does Pam Bondi, the leader of the Department of Justice. They agree with this type of behavior. So if you just so happen to mimic it,
The
it's no
Capitol's
problem.
West Front became a battleground. Inside, the joint session of Congress to certify election results was underway. The traditionally ceremonial process is upended by Republicans, led by Representative Paul Gosar of Arizona and Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, challenging Trump's loss, sending lawmakers to their separate chambers to debate.
What does it say to the nearly half the country?
This guy couldn't even get flood warning system in his own state.
That believes this election was rigged if we vote not even to consider the claims of illegality.
So what he was doing was justifying the behavior outside. He was saying they're getting violent. They will use violence because we didn't even consider the claim that the election was stolen. So that means the next time someone thinks the election is stolen, especially from the left, the people who did this, what could they say about that? What would they say? They won't say, will they say that it's not necessary to use violence when you believe the election was stolen? That that's wrong? Will they say it's wrong? No, they won't say it's wrong because they're doing it right here.
Meanwhile, around 2 p.m., the east side barricades are breached. Here's what I saw from outside the Capitol. Half an hour ago, vehicle
What's up, Donnie?
that had been set up about 100 yards away or so from the Capitol were first breached by a group of protesters. Capitol Hill police retreated a little bit more.
Yeah, we're going to keep it going, but hit the like button and subscribe. But we got a lot of stuff coming. Watch.
More protesters started to stream up this walkway in front of the Capitol. It is a remarkable scene. On the West Front, the mob tore down scaffolding, battled their way through the last line of police defense, and broke into the Capitol building itself. NewsHour congressional correspondent Lisa Desjardins was inside the building reporting live as it happened.
Judy, there are protesters. Protesters have now broken into the U.S. Capitol.
And it will stand in recess until the call of the chair.
The Senate was called into recess and evacuated. The mob of Trump supporters roamed the historic halls, damaging property and searching for lawmakers. Security footage captured the moment Capitol Police...
Trump is the only person that could call the National Guard. It's his National Guard in D.C. He did not call the National Guard. It's just very simple.
Police officer Eugene Goodman shuttled Republican Senator Mitt Romney of Utah to safety before running ahead to divert the approaching mob away from the Senate chamber. Rioters came within 100 feet of Vice President Mike Pence, whose security detail took him to safety from an office near the Senate. While this was happening at 2:24 p.m., Trump tweeted from the White House, criticizing Pence for not having, quote, the courage to do what should have been done.
Yes.
Feet of Vice President Mike Pence, whose security detail took him to safety from an office near the Senate. While this was happening at 2:24 p.m., Trump tweeted from the White House, criticizing...
So you can see this is all coordinated. Trump is obviously communicating with people on the ground. He knows step by step what's going on. And he's having the nerve to add on to it. I mean, it's a coordinated attack. It's plain and it's obvious, but it's also justified by these people. Violence is justified. They're justifying violence. And here is the evidence.
Pence for not having, quote, the courage to do what should have been done. Remarkably, the House was still in session when rioters attempted to break into that chamber. A police officer shot Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force...
Would this be okay? Is this okay or is this bad? Should you shoot a person that is not following police officers' instructions? Or should you not shoot a person who's not following police officers' instructions in Washington, D.C.? MAGA people, can you answer that question? Should she have been shot for not following the police officer's instructions? Or in DC, should you not shoot someone who's not following the police officer's instructions? Tell me right now, if you believe she should not have been shot for not following instructions, put a 1 in the chat. This is where the MAGA people always go silent. No ones? No ones yet? We're the ones from the MAGA folk. If you believe that she should not have been shot for not following police officers' instructions, put a 1 in the chat. Because it's going to be like that when some leftists start shooting police too. Don't change your mind after. Come on. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. And when someone breaks into your house, like she just tried to break into that chamber, should you have the right to shoot her? Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 2 in the chat if you believe you should have the right to shoot her if she tried to break in your house that way. Oh, yeah, I believe I should have the right to shoot her ass. She tried to break in my house. And just like, okay, now, if you believe the police had the right to shoot her when she tried to break into the house of the people, put a 2 in the chat. No, put a 3. Put a 3. Put a 3 if you believe the police had the right to shoot her for breaking into the house. I'm saying 3. They had the right to shoot her ass. She was vile. She was not listening to police instructions. And she came with a mob to hang Mike Pence, who's an elected official, who's not even from the same party I'm with. But damn, this is egregious. You know, you really think you MAGA people think you got on everyone on Jedi mind trick. You think you're just going to come to town, gaslight people, come with violence in your mind, gaslight people if they don't just sit down and let you do whatever you want. And then, you know, try to tell them they're wrong for shooting your ass when you came with violence in the first place. Understand something. If you do not denounce violence, MAGA, you will eventually get met with violence. It will be your turn at some point if you do not learn to denounce violence. Now let's continue. Just like it happened to her ass, and I'm laughing about it. Ha 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 ha. Everybody clap your hands. Clap your hand to the beat.
QAnon conspiracy theorist as she and a crowd tried to break into the rear of the chamber where some lawmakers were still sheltering. According to an analysis from the New York Times, rioters breached the Capitol in at least 8 different places.
If I was there on duty, let me see something. At any one of those windows, let me just take it back a little bit. I would have shot at any one of those windows. Anyone.
New York Times, rioters breached the...
If I was at any location, shot, I would have been the police officer there shooting their ass and shooting you. Okay, let's just get it and, make it very plain. You see what I mean? Like, I have no problem shooting a bigot, a violent one. Okay, even while on duty. I have no problem with that at all. Okay, you don't want to follow instructions. You're endangering people's lives. Yes, I will have to shoot your ass. Okay?
Capitol in at least 8 different places. They entered the Rotunda, Statuary Hall, and the Senate chamber. Some broke into the offices of lawmakers, including House Speaker.
And God bless the officer that shot her. Thank you. Thank you for doing your duty. God bless you. And you have wonderful parents also.
Nancy Pelosi's. Law enforcement arrived to clear a hallway above Statuary Hall, where NewsHour correspondent Lisa Desjardins was sheltered.
But I do hear shouting as police seem to one by one be taking down the protesters, telling them to get on the ground, trying to control the situation.
Democratic Senator Patty Murray from Washington State spoke with Judy Woodruff about hiding in her office with her husband that day.
And we heard somebody saying, we saw them, they're in one of these rooms. And they were pounding on our door and trying to open it. And my husband sat with his foot against the door, praying that it would not break in.
Meanwhile, outside, as the crowds grew, so did the violence. Officers.
The woman was being violent. It doesn't matter. You could say she was unarmed. That doesn't matter. There's plenty of unarmed people get shot in the U.S. What are you talking about? And it's apparently legal. So, you know, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, Mike. And that woman was being violent. She was banging on a window trying to break her way in. Would you want someone to come to your home and bang on your window and try to break themselves in? What would you do, Mike? Don't say that all of a sudden you're a pacifist when someone tries to break through your window. You damn hypocrite.
Officers on site continued to call for backup throughout the day. And while some reinforcements did arrive from local and state and federal agencies,
God bless the officer that shot her. Amen.
It took National Guard units about 3 hours to respond to the Capitol. Rioters outnumbering law enforcement by more than 50
Look,
to 1.
right here. Hold on. Let me just go back here. Every last one of y'all would have been shot. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And try it again. Try it again. But if you asking me and I was there, you got a stick in your hand, you getting shot. You got mace in your hand, you getting shot. You lift your hand at me, you getting shot. You yell at me, you getting shot. Okay? I mean, apparently you guys are like, you know, don't you know that happens in the USA every day? Why it didn't happen here, I don't know why, but I'll be damned if I'll be following that practice. You know? Yeah, this is a mob. You're being violent. You need to get your ass shot. All of you.
Numbering law enforcement by more than 50
Look at that. This dude just swung up. Look, do you see that?
Attacked, dragged, and beat police officers, crushing them underfoot and spraying them with chemicals.
They began to beat me with their fists and with what felt like hard metal objects.
In testimony to Congress, former D.C. Metro Police officer Michael Fanone recounted being pulled into a crowd of protesters.
I was electrocuted again and again and again.
Do you know what I mean?
If you're there and you were a part of this, you should have got your ass shot. It's just very simple. You were breaking the law and you were being violent. Very simple. And if you disagree, then hey, you know, give away your guns. What do you think the guns are for? What do you think police have guns for? You know, you think you're just supposed to come there and beat them upside the head, break in the door, and you're not going to get your ass shot? I mean, apparently a lot of you thought that. But I'm just saying, if I was the cop that day, if I was working there, I would have shot some of y'all straight up. You know, I'm just saying it, you know, and you shouldn't. And what's crazy is you're angry at how the police didn't shoot your ass that day. You're angry at the police. That's the ridiculous part about it. You all are angry at the damn police who didn't even shoot you. Shot one person. They could have shot all of you and probably should have, you know. But let's listen some more.
Dr. Niambi Carter, political science professor at the University of Maryland College Park and author of American While Black, African.
Exactly. The police were defending the building. The attackers were not. They were saying, hang Mike Pence. What the hell? They were threatening the death of the vice president. What the hell are these MAGA people talking about? And I will definitely shoot you. You ever come violent at me that way? What the hell?
Americans' immigration and the limits of citizenship. And Molly John Fass is still with me. Dr. Carter, we'll start with you. Grand scheme of things, we know Trump is an authoritarian. We know he has attempted this before in Los Angeles. Why do you think he is after Washington, D.C.? He doesn't care about whatever the local issues happen to be. He doesn't care about concerns in Navy Yard or anything else like that in the area. Why do you think he's making this move right now in D.C.?
Well, thank you for having me, Jason. I think part of it is the fact that this is a majority black city, a majority minority city still, with a black woman mayor, and we know Donald Trump does not like women very much. But I also think it's a place where he actually can flex his muscle. Unfortunately, DC is not a state. So it's one of the few places where he actually can.
And let's be real, Donald Trump doesn't like women who say no. That's what he doesn't like.
And just send in National Guard troops and do all of these things with little to no repercussion. And we know Congress isn't going to stop him. So there really is sort of no downside, if you will, for him to do this, especially among his base.
Molly, I want to play you some sound from Mayor Muriel Bowser at a presser today talking about this takeover attempt and get your thoughts on the other side.
We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia. While this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Now, Molly, as Dr. Carter mentioned, there's no state to sort of protect Washington, D.C. It's a lot easier for President Trump to do this sort of thing. But, he's all but said he's going to try to do this in multiple blue cities, right? You never hear him talking about Houston. Mm-hmm. You never hear him talking about Atlanta. You never hear him talking about any of the states that he actually won in the last presidential election. My question for you is, what are the options, sort of legally, if anything, that these cities can do?
Paul Malcolm says MAGA in Nigerian means sucker indeed.
When these kind of takeovers happen, can they simply push back and say, hey, look, legally,
For real,
you can't do this, or you can't take these people over, you have to get this sort of judge's ruling? Or are most cities basically incapable of fighting back against these kinds of takeovers?
Well, we've seen this, right? We saw this in Los Angeles. We saw, there was some amount of pushback. In the end, they left. I mean, I think the larger question is more like, this is meant to scare people, right? This is an intimidation tactic. It's meant for people to be afraid. It's meant for him to show his base that he has so much power. And so much of what Trump's done since he's been in office this time is these shows of force, these things to sort of get his base excited or to get the rest of us worried. And I think that's what this is. And that's why it's from an authoritarian playbook. It's this kind of really intimidation tactic, which is, it's not necessary. It's really about pageantry. And that's why he wants things like military parades. And that's why he wants, it's all part of the same playbook.
Dr. Carter, to that point, when Trump sent in federal troops and everything else like that, sending the Marines to try and take over Los Angeles is a huge city. People were still having brunch and didn't know what was happening in downtown. Washington, D.C. is a lot more compact. I'm getting texts and Instagram pictures and everything else like that from people today talking about teenagers being, yanked off the streets for playing their music too loud, or people being arrested and handled roughly for just smoking marijuana, which they're allowed to do in certain parts of the city. What do you think could be the long-term impact on this? Because to me, I think if you do this in Washington, D.C., there's a lot of powerful people in that city who aren't going to like this.
Janine Pirro reacts to a viral confrontation with law enforcement in Northwest D.C.
All right, now we're going to get to the fun part. Listen, I told you, people in D.C. are not going to put up with this. They're not accustomed to it, and they're not going to put up with it. It doesn't matter with the law. You could come with the law. The bottom line is the best friend of Jeffrey Epstein is who gave the order. So in the rest of the world, that's why people don't give a F about the order. Okay, people are not going to go along with this. There might be a person that's afraid of losing their job that will go along with it. But what about the kids? What about the youth? What about all the other people? We're going to show you some very cruel things. So, kids shouldn't be watching this. Obviously, there's a lot of violence here. The January 6th thing was loads of violence, way more violence than you will see from D.C. residents. But this will give you an example. D.C. is a very diverse city, but people do not respect idiotic requests. And they also don't respect pedophiles. And they also don't respect sex traffickers. And they also don't respect people who don't pay their taxes like Trump. Trump is a tax evader, you see. And he's also an adjudicated sexual assault. He's been adjudicated for sexual assault himself in the civil trial. He lost his civil case, has to pay hundreds of millions out. So nobody's going to respect that. No one's going to respect that. It just doesn't matter. And if you're looking for people to respect it, you really are short-sighted. But in any case, let's listen to this.
You might have seen this already on your feed. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro reacts to a viral confrontation with law enforcement in Northwest D.C. You might have seen this already on your feed. Officials say a man aggressively approached a federal officer, yelling, cursing, and berating him before throwing a sandwich and hitting that officer in the chest. And you can see he ran away from there. The man was arrested at the scene.
Exactly. White man goes up to a federal officer and hits him with a sandwich. You know what I mean? And the officer is such a little biatch. You see what I mean? His feelings were hurt by that. I mean, you standing there in your uniform, worse things could happen. Somebody could shoot you, by the way. You know, you're just standing around there for nothing. I mean, you don't know who's in those buildings. You don't know who's got a sniper rifle. You don't know any of that. But you took the order of a person who is an adjudicated sexual assault individual, person who didn't pay their taxes. You took the order from a criminal. You took an order from a person whose best friend is the most prolific sex trafficker and pedophile in the country. That's why you're there. So anything can happen to you, because stupid is still stupid, even if the law tells you to do it. Okay?
He will be charged with assault on a police officer. Pirro is using this video as a warning to the public about attacking law enforcement.
An individual.
Now look at her outfit. Come on. Look at her outfit. Look at this. Man, what is this? She got on goddamn, what kind of outfit is this? She's supposed to be a government. She's supposed to be a government official. Oh my God.
Went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him, yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt.
Now, check this out. Check this out. Congress, for people that don't know, Congress, right, they're the ones that are supposed to approve judges. DC, local DC, it's a federal city. So those are federal judges, right? The DC circuit. Congress is so behind because the same Bravo people, MAGA all day, since they don't want their congressional members doing anything. Do you know how long it's going to take to prosecute this man who threw a sandwich at them? How long do you think it's going to take? You tell me. You think that's going to happen in a year's time? Get out of here. And he's still innocent until he's guilty. Do you know how long this man can delay that? Do you know how long? How long do you think it's going to take? Do you know how many cases are backed up and behind already before that man threw that sandwich in DC? Come on, these MAGA people they never get their facts straight. And she's standing here. She's another one. Her party. It's her own party that doesn't even want to have enough judges to prosecute cases in the first place. But okay, that's her. That's how she handles stuff. That's her business. That's how they go about stuff in the MAGA world. You know, they go, it's just like the man said, they go for what seems like the bully opportunity, the big thing, the show, right? But when you dissect it, they're missing a lot of the components you would need to follow through. Now, this is what's going on in DC, y'all. And on a more serious note, it's not necessarily something for kids. So if there's any kids out there, please don't watch. The video is not for kids, but you might want to consider if you're watching with a child around you, although you shouldn't, because I do adult content pretty much, you know. But take your children away from it because you're about to see something. Now, these people aren't being violent like January 6th people were being violent. And we're going to do a visual comparison also. So, but let's let it roll so you could see how the federal government, all the money that's being spent for them to roll into town and ride around in their cars, this is what they get.
Egging your ass, bro. They ain't all type of shit, boy. What the fuck? Oh my God. What the fuck? Oh, they really hopping out. Oh, that shit real. They really coming to your trenches and jumping out and bagging your ass, bro. They ain't all type of shit, boy. What the fuck? Oh my God. What the fuck? Oh, they really hopping out. Oh, that shit real. They really coming to your trenches and jumping out and bagging your ass, bro. They ain't all type of shit, boy. What the fuck? HSI.
So what they're doing right now is they're going through different neighborhoods in DC, driving through there. Now, let me ask you something. How much do you think each officer gets paid? Federal officer or DC officer? How much do you think they get paid? How much does this group cost to send to a neighborhood for one day? How much do you think? Just the people you see on screen. Give me a number. Because, you know, they're not there for free, by the way.
U.S. Marshals.
Put a number, Raphael, okay? Put a number. Educate people. What is the number that each one of these officers, federal agents, get paid? How do you know if it's more than me if you don't even know how much they get paid? Come on, Raphael, do the math, bro. How much do they get paid?
They got every... Oh, they got the DA... HSI. U.S. Marshals. They got every... Oh, they got the DA.
Look, listen. Do you think anyone got arrested when they came to this neighborhood? Do you think one person got arrested? That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's very few people actually being arrested. There are some, but for the amount of police and the cost and the actual arrests, what they're based on, you really have to ask yourself, is this just another show for Trump? You just got to ask it because they're standing around. They don't even know what to do. These are not people that know the area that they're in. They don't even know. Watch, you're going to see more. You're going to see some interaction and some conversation from them too. Listen.
HSI. U.S. Marshals. They got every... Oh, they got the...
Service to what? Nothing. No service. No service.
So you can see right here, they have a roadblock, pretty much, where their idea is that they stop people and one by one, you know, point to a car. You come here, we search your car or we search you, right? But still, this is going at it the hard way. This is the long way. If you try to stop crime in an urban city this way, you will never stop it this way because this is just random. This shows you have no real understanding of who the criminals are, where they live, how they do their business, how they conduct it. You won't get a sex trafficker this way. You won't get a drug dealer. You won't get someone selling fentanyl this way, a major trafficker this way. You won't get an arms dealer this way. Do you know people come from Virginia and Maryland and from other parts of the country to sell weapons in D.C. because you don't buy weapons aren't really sold in D.C. legally? Did you know that? They won't catch real weapons dealers this way because they don't roam around regularly, which you just randomly. What you might catch is a kid smoking weed. What you might catch is a couple of people, like they said before, with a few unregistered firearms. But people don't consider in America having an unregistered firearm the most serious event. There's some states and many states that don't even require you to register any firearm whatsoever in the United States of America. So, you know, again, what crime is being stopped?
Bullshit. Service to what? Nothing. No service.
And they damn sure won't release the Epstein files this way. None of this is about the Epstein files. All of this is about covering up the Epstein files so you can't know what other Congress people, what other Supreme Court judges have done the same to as Epstein. You know, you won't get a chance to know that, MAGA people, because your leadership doesn't want you to know who molested the thousands of other girls. They don't want you to know. And right now, you just have to shut up because Donald Trump called you stupid for even wanting to know. He said it's a hoax.
That's my bullshit.
Slim, you was done. Police officer everywhere. Slim, look,
Now look, they're here at the subway station checking little kids that come out of the subway. This is very ironic. This is so very American too, because you heard J.D. Vance come to Europe and lecture Europeans about culture, right? About their culture. But you don't see the state in Europe sending out federal agents to communities like this, harassing people. You don't see that. In fact, you don't even see bars at a train station. Did you know that in most of Europe, you just get on the train? Yeah, anybody. You just get on the train. If you have a ticket or not, the only time they will find out is when a ticket collector comes and asks you for your ticket, if you should happen to come across one. They don't have bars and they're not stopping anybody. If you don't have the money, you just get on the bus anyway and go to work. You know, it's actually crazy. But to see this reminds me of how pathetic this is. Now, again, they're stopping kids here at the metro because that's who primarily is taking this. You know, low wage workers. We're not talking about criminals. Sex traffickers don't take the metro. Sex traffickers have fancy cars. They're like Epstein. He rode in a limousine. You see what I mean? Drug dealers, they don't take the metro. You see? Not gun dealers don't take the metro. So again, how much do you think each one of these federal agents gets paid a day for standing here trying to catch a criminal here at the train station?
This jump, bro. The fuck, they locking everybody up, Slim. Oh, bro. I mean, they just pulled their ass over there over, Slim. Done. Hey, bro, they deep as shit.
I'm sorry. There's no way in hell the price of a federal agent is worth the ticket a kid gets for riding the train without paying. That just makes no damn sense. There's no there's nothing in math that would make that make any damn sense.
And the cost is Slim. They locking everybody up, Brian. You ain't pay for that metro, Slim. You was done. Police officer everywhere, Slim. Look, they not fucking planning this jump, bro. The fuck, they locking everybody.
No, this is real. This is a kid in DC filming it. He's telling you they're locking up people for not paying for their tickets. And I'm asking you, how much is the ticket? How much is the ticket? And how much do the officers get paid, the federal officers, to come and find out who paid their ticket? Does it balance out? That's all I'm asking. Is it a federal crime to not pay your ticket? No. It's not a federal crime to not pay your ticket. That's like sending federal agents out to find out if you paid your parking ticket. It's crazy.
Oh, bro. I mean, they just pulled their ass over there over, Slim. Done. Hey, bro, they deep.
It's just facts.
3. Keep coming. 4, 5, 6.
Joy and peace. Yeah, the federal government, the feds, is over at Anacostia Station in Southeast DC, exactly, stopping kids who didn't pay their metro fare. Does that sound like that's ever going to equal out? So you send the feds to a city to find out if people are paying their metro ticket fee. I mean, I'm sorry, yo, people in DC about to troll these feds. They are about to troll them hard like they never been trolled before. And that's not black people. That's everybody. That's everybody, yo. That's everybody, because everyone knows the person who gave the order to the feds to come to DC, which has rarely ever been done. Best friend is a pedophile. Donald Trump's best friend is the most prolific pedophile in the United States history, in the United States of America, and sex trafficker. That's Donald Trump's best friend. That's the person who gave the order for the feds to go find out who paid their metro ticket today.
That's why I said when y'all thought I was just capping. They always, we heard.
Always in the back right here, y'all. They always in the back. Bubba, look at Bubba. Hey, Bubba. Little buddy. I don't know about in y'all city, but this how they pull up in our city on a nigga. These all police cars, y'all. Look, that's 3. Keep coming. 4.
Exactly. I mean, this is crazy. The people are going to troll the hell out of the feds. They're trolling. The kids are trolling the feds. This is not it. Look, but shouldn't you troll the damn fed that shows up at the damn metro station trying to find out who paid their ticket? Sorry, that's not a violent crime. Sorry.
5, 6.
That was the big line. That's why I said when y'all thought.
It's called a misdemeanor, even if it's that.
They always, we heard.
Always in the back right here, y'all. They always in the back. Bubba, look at Bubba. Hey, Bubba. Little buddy.
There's more. Earth. So to find these little petty infractions, you had to send even more police. But here's the thing. What do you think they would find if they came to, let's say, Texas? Tennessee? What about Oklahoma? What about if they went to MAGA Mike Johnson's state? What would they find in MAGA Mike Johnson's state? You know, that's the thing about it. And you would find a lot more crime because there is a lot more crime. There's a lot more violent crime in MAGA Mike Johnson's state. I mean, you know, and it really is like that. Hold on. Oops. Wait 1 second. Look, it really is like that. That's what the data says. And, you know, but they're not sending these police to those places because I guess they know that they only want it to go to liberal towns. You know, they're only trying to get it. They're only trying to get these police to be in liberal states. You know, here's the difference. DC, right? 2025 violent crimes, right? Per 1,000 people, right? They're at 3.8. Now let's go through some Republican home states. MAGA Mike Johnson's own state in terms of violent crime is 6.2. That's almost double. Lindsey Graham's home state, violent crime, 4.7. Rubio's own state is the same. You don't see as DC per person. Where are the feds looking for violent crime? Let alone looking for someone smoking a joint or looking for someone who didn't pay a metro ticket or a bus ticket. Abbott State, that's in Texas. That's more than DC per person, right? Why? I mean, what's the deal? You see, so it doesn't matter how you cut it. If you can't clearly see once they show themselves up at a subway station, checking kids for tickets, that something's not making sense. First of all, you should be able to ask yourself, you should be able to know, you should be able to know how much are they getting paid per officer to find who is not paying their tickets and who is. And will it equal out to the amount that the ticket is? It's just simple. It won't. It won't. So you could see all of this is show because it doesn't matter. There's not that much crime in DC in the first place. There's the average crime at best. There's average crime. Yeah. Somebody said these are, hold on. Yo, Tiv Migo. I don't know who you're talking to. These are clowns that never travel outside of the U.S., sit on social media. Yeah, you're right. They are. They don't make sense, bro. I'm from Washington, D.C., number one, so I can comment on Washington, D.C., born and raised. But I live in Denmark, in Copenhagen, so I live outside of the country, and I've traveled to many places. So I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about here. Whether it's social media or not, it's called communicating for a reason. You see, it's communicating. And there's some people in here that know how to communicate well, but it requires listening too. Now, this is what's going on in DC. This is what's going on in DC. This is not me saying it. This is people in DC that are recording it and they're showing it to you. Now, pay attention to this one.
I'll stay in that trouble. You got your ID on you, Chip?
No, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
Somebody said, what block am I from? I don't know if you ever heard of the documentary that's called The Legend of Cool Disco Dan. Anybody that's from DC would know about that. I'm actually in the documentary. So go pick the documentary up if you're interested in DC subculture, right? DC history, that kind of thing. Everybody from my hometown knows who I am. And especially the ones that know who Cool Disco Dan is because they've seen that doc. But again, I don't live in DC. I was just born and raised there. Right? I live outside of the U.S. I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. So when I was talking about the subways, what I meant is that it's true. Nobody gets checked. There's no fence that's stopping you when you get on the bus or the subway. You just get on. If you have a ticket, you have one. If you don't, you don't. There's no bars. There's no police coming for you if you didn't pay your ticket. You have a ticket person that will give you a fine. That's it. They don't lock you up. Okay, I mean, it's just simple. It's just simple fact. If you don't care to know the facts, that's okay. That's on you. That's not my problem.
No, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
There's a cigarette. Did y'all get a call or something right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like Code 3, anything like that people are putting up? All right, so yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together for 7 days and going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life offenses, smoking, drinking in public, right? Can't happen outside, right? Most people know that. Right? So we're contacting people, trying to advise them of the law, so they learn, right? And then if there's other stuff going on where it turns into there's multiple agencies of somebody, there's a shooting and things like that. There's extra hands available, right? So we're just out here trying to inform people and educate people. It's not like we're trying to just go grab people and ruin someone's life over a joint or something like that, all right?
I only asked because
That's interesting what he just said. Let me read Joy and Peace. Love DC, all 4 sections of it. From Georgetown, Minnesota Avenue. Yeah, word. Me too, Joy. I love the city. You know, I was brought up on the east side. I'm from the hill, the east side of the hill, Capitol Hill and Anacostia. So I grew up in both of those areas as a kid, you know. But yeah, you know, I love the city. It's a beautiful city, wonderful people. I couldn't have ever asked for a better upbringing and experience as a child. You know, we used to go swing on the flagpoles on the Library of Congress. We used to run all over the city. You know, the police in the city. Wonderful. You know, we grew up with a great police department. One of the only police departments where you don't hear much about police brutality and these kind of things like you hear in Maryland, Virginia, other parts of the country. And so DC people are not even used to this kind of craziness. But I actually like the fact that the young man is sitting here. He's just like dealing with these feds calmly because they don't come from here. They don't know anything about this place. They don't know anything about DC. You know, these people are foreigners to DC, right? So, but as you can see, they're just roaming around. You see, they're roaming. And my question is, how much do they get paid for an hour for this work? Just roaming around. Where is the targeting? Because if you think you could do better than the Washington Police Department on stopping violent crime, you're crazy, because they know way more than you about the city. You see, they know how guns gets trafficked to DC, because you don't buy guns in DC because they don't sell them in DC. You see, they know how drugs gets brought and trafficked to DC. These people don't. They know how sex trafficking is happening in DC. These people don't. They just showed up and they have to learn. They have to learn on one day what loads of other people have been learning in a comprehensive educational experience for police, people that actually want to do this job. So they're like fish out of water.
Because when you walked up at the bar, you walked up, you only had eggs.
Yeah, well, it smelled like the odor of marijuana, burnt marijuana in the air, right? And you're the only.
Now, it's interesting what they say. It smelled like marijuana. Now, you need to understand this. DC law, you don't do that by DC law. That's illegal by DC law. Smelling marijuana doesn't give you the right to stop anybody, seize any property from them, check them, anything. It doesn't. And why? Why is that? Because the courts, something that the Congress is supposed to be getting judges, they haven't been. They've been sitting back doing nothing. So the courts, they don't want the courts overrun with people who get arrested for a dime bag of weed. No, they don't. That takes away from arresting and doing trials on real criminals, serious criminality. So they changed the law in DC. That's why weed is actually legal to smoke in DC, but the police are not allowed to use it as a reason to stop you. Obviously, this officer doesn't even know DC law.
You gotta have something lit in your hand and I didn't flash right, so I didn't realize it was just a cigarette. So that's on me. I appreciate you understanding and not getting chippy. All right, so.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Go-go music, for real. Go-go music. Yeah, bounce. There you go, bounce world order. That is what it's about. We got our own cultural music in DC, go-go music, in case nobody ever heard. And, you know, so we our own people. We're not stupid. We read the damn newspaper. We know how to create our own culture, our own music, right? And do the business of it. Keep it alive for 50 years where we control the music ourselves. It's not sold out to some New Yorkers or some big industry. Yeah, that's DC people for you. A lot of civil rights activists, a lot of lawyers, a lot of teachers, educators come out of DC. Duke Ellington comes from DC, probably one of the most renowned, known jazz performers and writers. Yeah, you know, and plus many others, Marvin Gaye. I mean, we do it fly in DC. So when we see these people coming here, we know that they just jealous. They just jealous.
No, right? Learn, teach, tell your boys, like.
And yes, they gonna get trolled for coming to a place they don't know and judging people too fast.
Yo, everybody's out, from FBI to park police. Right? So do your thing. Let them know. Don't be smoking outside. Don't be drinking outside. Because Donald Trump is tired of it. People coming to visit.
I didn't know that.
Hey, man, Donald Trump can get these nuts. You know what I'm saying? Beat it, Donald Trump.
You smoking in public? Yeah, the rest of the
because in Maryland is recreational use. So I ain't know.
Yeah, so DC, it's recreational use as well, right? But you can legally possess up to 2 ounces. You can gift an ounce to your boy, right? So if you had 2 ounces and he said he needed a zip, you can give him a zip.
First of all, if you're sitting on your own damn porch, okay, mind your business. If somebody's sitting on their porch, you don't go up to walk up to them and tell them what they could do in their own damn porch. And see, that's the crazy thing.
But you can't smoke outside.
I went to the next one.
Oh! Damn!
You don't do it.
That's slim.
Damn, when you need your camera, so you can't even get.
Don't be in such a hurry.
Oh!
And that is exactly what's going to happen in DC, because if you don't know the surroundings, this is what's going to happen. And if this could happen to a DC police officer in a rush, it could damn sure happen to a Fed much more. Trust me.
Damn.
Come on, y'all. Let's get our laughs up. Please click like on the video. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'm a brother born and raised in Washington, D.C., but I live in Copenhagen, Denmark, so I got my universal health care. My kids get paid to go to school. I have my union job. And yes, I think we should have that in the U.S. too, since we pay a whole lot in taxes.
That's slim.
Damn, when you need your camera, so you can't even get.
Now this is Benning Road. Actually, one of my homeboys live right up. You can't see it to the right, down this damn street right here. The street. You see the little side street right down there, right down that street. The bottom line is that you're not going to do much with this kind of show or display. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. Again, that's like trying to go fishing in some waters you've never been fishing in. That's what this is. It's like this is like trying to go fishing not only in some waters you've never been fishing in before, but trying to go fishing in some waters you've never been fishing before, and you never been fishing before either, period. That's what this is like.
No, being unhealthy. Hey! That's better for you anyway. Yeah, but all that oil is off your arms.
Look, this is the plan. They're just stopping people randomly. Just stop it. Let's just take a chance. Just, hey, what the heck? Let me throw you may as well be playing dice. You may as well be rolling dice right now, waiting to hit the lucky number. I mean, this is ridiculous. And again, how much are they being paid? Now, don't think that it's going to stop here, because we're going to get a little more comprehensive, because we're going to go into what the federal government, what the Congress has not been doing, which creates harm to the city, like not funding programs, harming education, harming recreation, things that reduce crime. We'll get to there in a second.
A lot. See, that's why I like the old food chicken, because I feel like these be like got steroids and stuff.
Look at this. Look, there's no map. It's just random. It's just random. You may as well say, I don't know where the criminals are. Fuck it. Let me just put a roadblock up and hope that I happen to run into some.
The way I would, the way I would go from that. You don't have no warrants, what the hell you get scared for? Because I ain't gonna like that. Look, what happened what's left? No, I wouldn't. Why? You never know. Since you believe, you never know what can happen. You're good in a food. They just snow in your car and you're like, man, we're gonna have to drink more.
No, there's no accident. This is a checkpoint. This is what I mean. That this is the best idea they got. Put up a checkpoint and just hope you run into some random criminals. It's like, this is ridiculous. That's why I'm asking, how much do you think these people get paid because this costs tax dollars money. This costs not only when you send the feds out, it costs everyone in the country. Meanwhile, you don't need, they cut your Medicaid, but they got money to do just kind of random silliness. So you have federal government mixed with state government, right? State police, the DC police versus with the federal government, ICE and all these other, agencies, whatever you have. But they're getting paid a wage. Now, the question is that are they using these funds effectively to accomplish anything more than just for looks or harassing a few people? I mean, we found these people down at the subway station just checking to see if little kids paid their ticket, their subway ticket. That's just,
Hey, you're Friday.
Go home! You are surrounded by a mob of people that hate you. Go home! Leave us alone!
right. Even the gentrifiers hate this bullshit. That's how crazy it is.
You are surrounded by a mob of people that hate you. Go home! Leave us alone!
Yeah, this is Uptown, 14th and W. Yeah, that's not far from Mount Pleasant. And yeah, let me see here.
Straight. The president has been trying to provoke violence here, right here, in the black communities and in the brown communities, having ICE kidnap our neighbors, having the black community be harassed and profiled. We say, hell no, we won't go. Black Washingtonians have long recognized that community violence cannot be solved through state violence and have asked for meaningful investments and solutions that are proven to work. I stand in front of you today with a signal to the residents of D.C. and the country that we will not be idle as oppressive structures try to harm our communities and take power. The fight for black liberation and the liberation of all people will not stop no matter our oppression, intimidation, manipulation tactics. We have the right to demand respect, to protect ourselves and protect each other. We're fighting against mass incarceration, policing, ICE, violence towards immigrants and Muslims, violence in Palestine, worker exploitation, and more. We're fighting for freedom and safety for all people, including black, brown, people who are women, feminine, queer, trans, gender non-conforming, immigrants, disability, poor, and more. We're not free until all of us are free. We will not stand here and allow authoritarianism in Washington, D.C.
A group of military contractors led by Eric Prince, yes, the guy behind Blackwater, he just pitched a $25 billion plan to mass deport 12 million people before the 2026 midterm. They're talking about putting processing camps on military bases. They're talking about having a private fleet of planes and even a small army of citizens to make arrests. That's equivalent to deporting 500,000 people per month. That's over a 600% increase on current levels. This is 100% illegal and dystopian. But guess what? They're trying to make it happen anyway. And guess who profits? Private contractors. Yep. These are the same people who cashed in on war, and now they want to cash in on deportation.
And this is real. This is Trump visiting a school. Check it out. Here's the reaction.
Customs. Good evening. Not just DC Police, we also have Border Patrol, U.S. Customs as well, pulling off over here, HSI. There's a lot happening right here on the scene that we're trying to gather. We were responding to some kind of large federal law enforcement presence. As you can see, a number of federal hopping in their car. Please excuse the language from people in this community. There seems to be some kind of frustration. They're not understanding why this level of response to this community. Let's just keep our eye on this shot right here. There's a number of cars. We're turning around to a scene that also took place here. Again, this is all developing. We're trying to piece together what exactly took.
You know, once this is all over, you're going to find out that they spent a lot of money and got little done. Basically, there's no data that's going to come out, and the data that comes out is just going to show that it's ordinary things that they're encountering. Nothing, nothing as serious as may actually occur in other states. Like I've said before, this is the data on it, and people should feel free to actually look up the data themselves. Don't trust me, you know, because I don't trust people. I do the work myself, as you, if you have a brain, probably have figured out. But here, DC per 1,000 people has 3.8. That's the crime level. That's it. Per every 1,000, 3.8, right? Violent offenders, violent crimes happen, right? Republican home states. MAGA Mike Johnson. For those of you that don't know, but are Republicans and MAGA supporters, MAGA Mike Johnson is the majority congressional leader. He's the head of the Republican Party, right? In his state, it's 6.2. That's almost double of DC. So I know MAGA people don't like data, and you shouldn't believe me, by the way. You shouldn't believe me. You shouldn't believe anybody. But it's not an excuse for not knowing, however, regardless of who you believe. That's the data. Rubio State, they're not concerned about violent crime in Rubio State. I have no clue why. Abbott, Texas, they're not sending the feds down there like that. They might have ICE, but they're not talking about violent crime. You know what I mean? They're not sending the feds, you know. So, I mean, there you have it.
Place here, but
it
looks
is
like
what it is.
Maybe there were two different things taking place, MPD responding and federal agents responding. We're still trying to gather, but what I can say is the neighborhood here, they're just very upset at this type of response. We had people asking, somebody was hit, I guess, by a motorcycle, and they're like, why do we need this kind of response in our neighborhood to someone who was hit and just needs an ambulance? A lot of questions that they're asking. We're going to have those answers, but it's definitely been a day, Kenneth. We were at Navy Yard earlier where we saw federal law enforcement agents walking the streets kind of for this 30-day operation that we're aware of. The National Guard deployed today. We got that confirmation from the White House. Good evening. Not
Look at Tank. Yeah, Tank. Yeah, Tank.
This is what I mean by trolling. This is what I mean by trolling. And who pays for the trolling? MAGA people pay for the trolling too, because you're paying for them to spend their time standing around.
Tank said I ain't taking the box. They ain't taking the box. They about to take Tank. Hey, Tank. Hey, Tank. They said they ain't taking the box, bro. Hey, Tank. Hey, Tank. Tank. Hey, Tank. Hey, Tank.
Jay, you're incorrect. You're talking about years ago. DC's has they have a 30-year low. Okay, so those numbers you're quoting, you need to check back in on them, friend.
Hey, Tank. All right.
You good. Just down the sidewalk right there.
Hey,
Tank.
Tank.
Get out the street, bro.
Man, Tank said they ain't taking the box, bro.
Get out the street. Get in the street.
Hey, Tank said they ain't taking a box, bro. They down here trying to sell everything. Tank said they ain't taking a box. Hey, what my...
So this is one of the homeless people that are being confronted now. And you tell me how you would handle this.
That's bullshit. Wow.
So this is a homeless person. Obviously, they're missing their legs. Very likely a veteran of the United States military. Unfortunately, the federal government that we have, the Congress, they don't see it fit to actually get veterans the proper help that they need, whether it's for health care, whether it's housing, whether it's for mental illness or things that they suffer due to being in combat. And a lot of them end up being homeless, not just in the nation's capital, but around the country in different cities, in different state capitals. You will find this trend. However, sending the police out there, the federal government out there, is not the same thing as getting them a home. It's not the same thing as getting them mental help. It's not the same thing as making sure they have health care, proper health care, you know. And so I'm asking you, do you think this is a good use of public dollars?
Wow.
DC doesn't need the National Guard to protect it. It needs more investment in other things that are more important.
It's not as if he walks around the neighborhoods meeting people, seeing how we live, seeing how neighbors care for each other. It's not as if he is trying to make it better. He's trying simply to control it.
I think he's kind of like blowing it out of proportion.
In my mind, the National Guard is just a play for to make the people in power seem like they're doing something to address the problem, when in reality, the issues of crime, violence, and those kinds of things oftentimes are more so attributed to poor educational opportunities and lack of economic opportunities.
I went to the farmers market on Saturday and saw federal police there. There's just no need to have police at a farmers market, much less federal police.
Their presence make me feel a little bit uneasy.
It's absolutely unnecessary, totally being done to distract attention from the Epstein files. I felt violated. I don't feel safe with the possibility of untrained FBI agents and military personnel who are untrained to do police services patrolling our streets.
We don't need the National Guard, who I can't imagine what they're going to do, because we all know they're not trained for this sort of thing, whereas the Metropolitan Police are.
DC doesn't need the National Guard.
Right, so we're going to segue into some data now that a lot of people are not aware of, but I took a second to try to throw a little bit together. So let me see here.
Here's how Republican lawmakers are responding to the recent scandal involving...
Oh, wait a second. Oh, sorry about that. Is that the right one? Hold on. Is this the right one? 2 seconds. Did I put this in the wrong batch? Okay, sorry about that. That's the wrong one. 2 seconds.
Lawmakers and advocacy groups are...
Let me get the right one up here on the screen. 2 seconds. Okay, it must be these two. Here we go. Oh no, this is about the MAGA folk that actually from the Heritage Foundation that actually are not, that don't have generational, that don't go back generations in the U.S. You know, the founders, for people that don't know, I'm about to play the data, but for the people that don't know, two of the three founders of Heritage Foundation are actually immigrants. Their families don't go back to the Civil War or anything like that. Two of them, their families only go back to, I think one is one generation, and the second one is three generations. And then the third one only has one side of his family that goes back to the Civil War. But they use the term Heritage Foundation to make you sound like they care about the country more than people, let's say, like African Americans who all their, whose family members actually really do go back to the Civil War. And not only African Americans, a lot of other immigrants, or a lot of other, not immigrants, a lot of other people in the country's families go back there. But when you have an organization called Heritage Foundation, you would expect that they had a little more roots in the country, but they actually don't have deep roots or deep ties to America or the United States. And people should start paying attention, because when you enact laws where you're going around trying to stop people find out who the immigrants are, and your own leaders are immigrants basically themselves, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It sounds more racist than it sounds that it's really about finding out who's the illegal immigrant. But in any sense, let's go on.
Tonight, News 4's Dominique Moody is sharing more of his conversation with those teens.
What they say is contributing to the large gatherings of young people and the impact recent events are having on their mental health.
I've heard about like the big gatherings of all the youth.
Now, this is some of the excuse that Trump used, kids being kids, basically. I don't know why they don't understand that. Kids run around like this all over the world, in every country, in every Western country. But yet it's seen when certain kids do it, when they look a certain way, it's criminalized all of a sudden and not understood.
I mean, it's the groups, a lot of kids out together. Like, we be trying to enjoy our summer too and just go outside, have a good time. But then there is some youth who because there is gangs, some kids are a part of certain gangs, and they might see like a different person they don't like, so they try to go do something about it.
That's one of the reasons 16-year-old Tristan Hedspeth says is leading to potential altercations between young people. And videos like this showing groups of young people running through Navy Yard, the Wharf, and other parts of D.C.
And that's when the drama starts, and that causes problems. If the youth putting it out there that we are so bad and that we just cause so much drama, then that's what they're going to think.
The group says a lack of alternative activities is a contributing factor to the large gatherings.
Well, most of the stuff be for adults.
If it's not stuff that everybody wants to do, not everybody wants to do the same things, obviously.
During my conversation with Christopher, Tristan, Lamont, and Blesson, the 4 D.C. high schoolers shared their concerns since the onset of the youth curfew for those 17 and under. A decision that some in this group says didn't consider young people who make an effort to stay out of trouble.
When kids go out and then with the whole curfew thing, they just...
Yo, Green Scott, you don't have data that produces that. Kids do this I've traveled to a lot of countries myself, and that's what I'm saying, that traveling has caused me to reflect on some of those ideas like you have, Green Scott, where you assume instead of really do the data. Now, it could be that in DC, you might say that some kids are missing dads and things like that, and but missing a dad doesn't necessarily mean kids behave this way, and that's where I think the bigoted side of what you're saying, it comes from. Loads of people across the country get into trouble that have parents, a mom and a dad. Loads of people murder. Loads of people get on drugs that have moms and dads in their homes. So I think it's kind of silly for you to say that,
shut everything down, even when it's not a curfew. So I feel like they take their power, like their authority, to a different level.
They're minding their business, they're having fun, they're with their own friends, they're not causing any problems.
The young people shared their issues with President Trump's plan to federalize D.C. police and mobilize the National Guard, and the potential impact on their mental health. They say they've already started seeing more federal agents and officers on the street.
I've heard a lot of people are getting stopped, around the metro for acting suspicious. So people are always concerned about like how they present to the outer world.
From what I've seen, they're only putting more officers and security on the streets because of the youth that they feel like is causing trouble. And so then I feel like, oh, well, they're just going to see me as just another young black kid who may be trying to cause trouble.
The common consensus among the group is teens should understand the consequences of their actions. They, along with everyone else, should feel safe in the city.
Do I want it to be safe?
Now, I did some looking up of a few things, right? I dug in there. Now, check this out. Here's the interesting part. While the federal government Trump is selling this idea that kids are bad, you kids are bad kids. It's your fathers. You need to get your fathers. What they're not telling you is that Congress has been, regarding DC, withholding money for education, withholding money for recreation. And this is who it affects, these kids. And it's not a 1 year thing. It's a constant thing, you see. And so they don't tell you that side of the story. So while a lot of people might come to the game late and say, oh, wow, look at these kids, we got to stop this now. That's basically what Trump is doing, right? Although none of the data matches up, right? He comes to the party late, but why don't you just listen to the beginning why don't you just listen to DC officials say, hey, come on, Congress, give us our tax dollars back that we pay in federal dollars. Stop holding it up. Stop doing this. Stop cutting schools. Stop cutting money funding for recreation, because these are the people that it's affecting. It's affecting these kids. So while Congress is already having that conversation, they're weaponizing the other part. So they're being disingenuous to not just Washingtonians, because Washingtonians are pretty educated people. Even the criminals are educated in DC. The kids are pretty smart kids, right? But it's the rest of the country that doesn't really know. And think about this. The rest of the country is literally electing people that don't fund education, even in their states, that don't fund healthcare, even in their states, that don't fund loads of things, childcare in their states. So what are you paying federal tax dollars for? Why are you electing these people? Why are you electing people that hang out with sex traffickers and pedophiles? Why are you doing that? Why are you electing people that have scammed the government of tax dollars? Why are you doing this? Why would you elect a president who scammed the very state he came from hundreds of millions of tax dollars? Why would you do that and expect something good to come from it? Yeah, let me let this play.
Got it. Here's the short version, then the numbers. How often has Congress delayed or withheld DC funds? Last 40 years. Delays via continuing resolutions? Almost every year. Since the modern budget process began, Congress has used at least one CR in all but 3 fiscal years, which delays final approval of DC's budget because it rides the federal appropriations process. Congress.gov, whether that actually withheld DC's local spending? Usually no. Since FY 2003, Congress has typically let DC spend its locally raised funds at the current year new budget rate during CRs, so the delay didn't freeze DC's local increases. FY 2025 is the exception. The full year appropriations require DC to spend at FY 2024 rates, effectively withholding this year's local increases unless Congress fixes it. Congress.gov TAF, what's being withheld right now? FY 2025 capped to FY 2024 levels. Amounts below are the local funds increases that DC budgeted for FY 2025 but cannot spend because Congress capped spending at FY 2024 rates. All figures in no millions. Source tables are DC OCFO.
All figures are in the millions. All figures. Education, million. Education public charter schools, millions. DC plus charters, okay. Libraries, $74,000. Recreation, 74. I mean, but it adds up, and it's not just this, because on top of that, then DC also gets hit with whatever else the Congress is holding up across the nation when it comes to funding education, funding recreation, funding these kind of things. So let's
Agency
listen.
budget chapters. Sector agency, FY 2024 local funds, FY 2025 local funds increase blocked by cap. Education, DC Public Schools, 1,174.8681, 358.413, 183.
So what Congress does is you're self-governing. DC is self-governing. They're supposed to be responsible for what goes on. But when they make a plan to be responsible, Congress says, well, based on your plan that you gave us, we won't fund it. We will wait to see if we'll fund it. We will just say, use the money you used last year, the same amount. Who cares what you found out in your studies from last year? Who cares what that came up with? We'll just sit back and wait. That's what they've been doing.
Education.
But at the same time, DC keeps paying more federal taxes because they're earning more money each year. You see what I mean? So it's actually
public charter schools, GC
pretty bad.
100 Fade and Fade 438, 165.73. Education subtotal, DCPS plus charters, 349.277. Libraries, DC Public Libraries, E4.192, 65.842. Recreation, depth of Parks and Recreation, HN, 79.916, 77.40. Why 2025?
Yeah, don't worry about the voice. You can see the numbers right here. DCPS over 1 million, right? Blocked almost 100. Damn. 183 million. Public charters. Yeah, it goes on. And there's more to this too. It's look, 79 million from Parks and Recreations. DC Public Library, 75 million. You see, DC pays a lot in federal taxes. Lots and lots and lots. And Congress. Just like Congress, they want to complain about crime, but how do you prosecute crime when Congress is not assigning judges? Congress is behind on assigning judges. So actually prosecutions in DC take longer than many other places. But whose job is that? It's Congress's job. Why isn't Congress doing it when they get paid? You see, so all of this is self-created by Congress. And now they're going to punish you for it.
5 is actually lower than FY 2024, so the cap doesn't withhold an increase here. Notes and sources for the numbers.
Look, people in DC know this, what's being broken down right here. And that's the good thing about it. Everybody in DC knows what the issue is with taxation without representation. Without complete total statehood, this is what DC has been left with, fighting with Congress over their very pennies, over the dollars they pay up every single year. How do you run a state like that? And how are you supposed to be responsible like that? Nobody else has to go through that. So Donald Trump, what he did is what bullies do. Find the weakest people and then attack them with all the force you have, the might of the state, all of the power. But people in DC don't give a F. They don't care. They've been through this before. They don't care. They are resilient people. They know the game. They know the game. But they didn't elect the guy who's the best friend of the most prolific pedophile and sex trafficker. That's not Washington, D.C. residents. You see, that's other folks in other states who did that, who elected a person who scammed their own state out of millions and millions, hundreds of millions of tax dollars. That's not Washington, D.C. residents who elected that fool. You see, but this is what you got to deal with. This is what we got to deal with.
FY 2025 local funds, $358. And
let me go to the next one.
Here's the short factual picture. Over the last 40 years, how often were DC education recreation funds withheld or delayed?
All right, I'm gonna pause it on this one, y'all, because you need to look this stuff up. A lot of people like to believe, that they know something about the country they live in. Well, if you don't know these facts about DC, those are some of the things you don't know about the country that you live in. And you need to get an education about it. That's part of civics. Okay, you should understand Washington, D.C. doesn't have a vote in the Congress and doesn't have a vote in the Senate. We have shadow Congress people and shadow senators. We pay federal tax. That's called taxation without representation. Congress holds up the federal dollars that D.C. collects from its residents every year. So it makes managing the city difficult, more difficult than anyone else who lives in the country that lives in a state. That's just facts. Okay. So when you point out the problems of people in DC are saying, no shit, Sherlock, when are you going to start funding the shit that we give you? When are you going to give us our money so we can spend it to help solve these problems that some of these kids are having? When are you going to do it? You're going to do it 1 year on time, or are you just going to delay it every year and then also hit the whole country with cutbacks in education on top of the money we're being delayed? I mean, come on. Anybody with a brain, not saying MAGA people do, because they usually put all their shit in their dick or in their, bigotry. Very little of their time and interest goes to knowing the country they live in, sadly enough. But people in DC do understand this. But I'm gonna be back with y'all, man. I hope I did my city some justice, because I am born and raised in DC, and I hate to see Americans be fooled. Number one, not just Washingtonians, but I hate to see Americans be fooled. I'm an American and I live outside of the U.S. I live in a beautiful country that is well maintained, but everyone gets paid to go to school here. Technical school, university. There is no excuse here. It has nothing to do with your parents and how much money they make. Everyone gets paid to better themselves here. Number one, everyone has health care here. Number two, union jobs are strong here. I have a union job. I work in the health sector myself, right? So I understand a lot about health care in this country, because I work in it. But it's one of the models of the Western world, by the way, the one that they have here. So it really hurts me to see how the media lies to American people, corporate media, and how congressional members also lie to the people that vote for them. American citizens, after you pay your taxes and after you pay your expenses, your essentials, housing, food, health care, all those things together, and your taxes, all your expenses, after you pay your expenses each month, you take home less money in your pocket than anybody that lives in the EU. That's what it comes down with. So stop bragging about how great you are. Fix the shit inside. And you can't fix nothing around the world if you can't stop yourself from being a dumbass and stop yourself from being scammed and robbed by your own goddamn representatives. I mean, you really need to get it together. Stop wasting your time thinking about people in DC in a negative way when you're just as whack in every other part of the country. Even worse. Even worse. Even worse. Even worse. You got some nerve, you little maggots. You got some nerve. Get it together, because you ain't going to make it. You're not going to make it. I'm telling you, you're not going to make it. It's not looking good, But on that note, I'm gonna be out for and I'll be back with y'all later. Click the like button. Help a brother. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Help a brother out. I am a positive dude that tries to share some information that is worth hearing. If you are an American citizen and you made the mistake of voting for Trump one time, hey, I understand, but get your shit together. But if you voted for him twice, I'll be damned if you're going to roll over people anymore. It's over for you. It's over. You're going to have to pay the piper. You've done this one too many times. It's time to pay the piper. Okay? And you best understand, you MAGA people out there, Trump doesn't give a damn about you. You are poor. You are broke. So get your shit together and start saying, I want some health care, goddammit. I want some education, goddammit. On that note, see ya. Release the Epstein files, y'all. Release the Epstein files. Bless. One, y'all. Click like, click subscribe, share. Appreciate y'all. One.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a debt's owed? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers. Cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though we keep it together. I'm not talking about in the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack, and now there's double, but nature gets the